Hi, guys. I'm just going to say hi. It looks like one person's watching. So there it is. Now it's officially 2 o'clock. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? I hope this isn't going to be too dark because, of course, earlier today it was lighter out. I didn't think there would be any problem. And now all of a sudden, I mean, quite literally, like in the last 5 minutes, it's gotten suddenly overcast and very dark. And I'm like, really? So this video might be a little bit dark. I'm hoping it's not too bad. I'm looking at it. It doesn't look horrible. And there's actually glare on my glasses. So there you go. All right. So as the title says, not only, hello, Pam. How are you? Chilly here too. Okay. So, okay, good. It's not too dark. All right. So as you guys saw, I picked up the sewing machine and in the process also bought, I don't know, like 200 something patterns, something like that. Okay, so let's start with her. Oh, she's heavier than I thought. Here she is. Isn't she gorgeous? I know. Look at her, right? So this is the Magnolia 7330. It is made by Janome. They call it a crafter's sewing machine, which I thought was kind of interesting. It is heavier than I thought. So not as light as my other Janomes. It's got all of these. Let me see if I can get the stitches. There we go. Lots and lots of stitches. It is computerized. It's got several fashion buttonholers plus some quilting stitches. I'm going to quickly put it on the ground and I'll show you some of the stitches. Yesterday, I went through and just, hold on. Yesterday, I went through and I just tried the stitches out. So you can see here's my practice piece. And they're really nice. Like this isn't, there's a couple overlock stitches. There's this overlock stitch. There's a couple of these decorative stitches. There's quilting stitches. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about actually using this. I put the purple yarn on there because I am going to start that one project, this sweatshirt. I'm going to take these off. These are driving me crazy. I'm going to start the sweatshirt with the material I found at Goodwill, you know, the purple material. I just didn't get a chance yet today because I was doing other things. And I have tomorrow off for Martin Luther King's birthday. So there you go. And I can't read your comments without my glasses. There we go. Yeah. The interesting thing is if you go back on YouTube, you can find reviews for this sewing machine going back about 10 years more. I don't think they've made it since 2015. I might be wrong about that. It might be 2020, but they don't make it anymore. And the fact that this guy had a new one in the box and the box still had the plastic on it, I was pretty happy. And I looked up the old comps on this and it was a $400 machine back in the day. And I got it for $200. So I'm very happy with all that part of it. Now, with that said, while I was interacting with this man on Facebook Marketplace, I happened to notice an ad that said, brand new sewing patterns for sale. So, you know, I had to look into it, right? Yeah. We're just, hi, Olivia. We were just talking about the sewing machine. Yeah, you know, the thing, here's interesting, something I found out about the Janome that I didn't know. Janome, well, I knew Janome was a Japanese company. The name kind of gives it away. It sounds like a Japanese name, but they were the company that made Kenmore sewing machines for years, which is the sewing machine I learned on. My mom had a Kenmore sitting in like the, you know, the living room, right? And I was like, wow, I didn't realize it was Kenmore. Oh, great, it's snowing now. Okay, whatever, snowing. Anyway, so yeah, this particular sewing machine has amazing reviews. People that have it love it. But they're old reviews. They're from like 10 years ago. So they're a little hard to find, but what are you going to do? All right. So let's talk about these patterns. There's a couple things going on. Went and picked up these patterns. They're in great shape. They're brand new. I picked them up at a storage unit, which it makes me think, because the woman was like the manager, makes me think these were in somebody's storage unit. And they didn't bother to pay their bill. So their loss, my gain, we'll see. Anyway, I'm I'm going to try and do this. See, my glasses get so much glare. I'm going to keep them off. All right. So the first set of patterns we're going to talk about are the ones I'm going to keep, and I'm going to tell you why. I am keeping this whole stack of these patterns because I was looking at these. And you all know that I want to have a store eventually. These are, by the way, in no particular order. These are patterns that apparently are out of print that were designed to teach kind of tweens to sew. And the Handwork Studio has YouTube videos that you can follow for tutorials for these different patterns. And then if you look at the back of the pattern, instead of line drawings, they have all of this information for the beginner sewer. And I thought, you know what? I'm only missing two of them, which I might try and pick up later. But I think I'm going to hold on to them because I would love to eventually teach sewing classes. Now, when I say teach sewing classes, I'm not talking about me. I would probably hire somebody else to teach the sewing classes. But still, right? I have two of these. I did have two of these. All right, we'll put that one aside. But just to have this kind of option of having something like this that is really absolutely geared towards tweens. That's not just a regular old beginner pattern, but is actually geared towards tweens. I thought, I'm going to hold on to those. All right, this next stack of patterns. And you know, I don't usually do this, right? You know, like Stephanie Cannon always says she can only keep 3. By the way, I linked her most recent video down below. She found dead stock 1930s New York patterns. And I'm not kidding when I tell you I'm really envious of this. Not so much for the fact that she's going to sell them, but a lot of them were bigger sizes. They were not what we now call plus size, so they were larger bust. No, I'm not going to open a pattern store. I want to open a creative reuse center. So it will be a lot of stuff that is, what's the right word for it? Rescued from landfills, I guess. Rescued from landfills. All right, so here's the first pattern I'm keeping for myself because I kind of love that bathrobe. And I've wanted to make a bathrobe for a while. And I just have never bought myself a pattern. So this one I kept because this is almost a block pattern. If you guys don't know what a block pattern is or a sloper pattern, it's a really basic pattern that once it's fitted to you, you can add onto it. You can change the sleeves, change the skirts, but really it's the bodice and the skirt and how they line up that helps you to like, you can use them over and over again, honestly. I just thought this was so cute. I love a wrap dress. I love this shirt. No idea when I'm making any of these. And all of these, with the exception of 1 or 2, I have a second one that I'm not keeping that are up online. So if you're interested in any of them, please feel free to go look at my Etsy page. The discount is below. And, you know, snag yourself one of these patterns if you're looking for them. A lot of these patterns are 2020 and 2019. So they're only about 5 years old. Some of them are older. The oldest one I found was 2003. It was a kid's pattern. We'll see it in a bit. Yeah, a lot of kids patterns, like kind of too many. Kind of too many kids patterns because you know how I feel about kids patterns. But they were in there. So, you know, again, another wrap dress. I love a wrap dress. I decided to keep this one because it goes up to my size. And I have nothing that is like a peplum type thing. And I keep saying I want to make myself a classic 2-piece dress. And a lot of the classic 2-piece dresses were peplum. They had the peplum top. So that when you put them on together, they really did look like a 1-piece dress. Sorry, I can't see that. I'm hoping I can open it soon. I'm working on it. And I kept this one because I don't have any suit patterns with like, and I like that jacket. The one that the model's actually wearing. I really like that. Also like that it's a woman of my age. Now, this pattern here, I wasn't going to keep, but I'm keeping it because it is actually cut. And it's kind of a mystery how this pattern got cut. It goes with another pattern in the costumes that I'll show you later. I don't know how it ended up getting cut, but it's like, it's a skirt and then you can build bustles for it. Not really my thing, but I can't really sell it either because it was cut down to one of the smaller sizes. So I'm just going to keep it. Maybe I'll use the skirt patterns. Who knows? Wow, I know middle school home ec patterns, right? They don't do home ec anymore. It really bothers me. But some of the girls that ride my bus that are in middle school told me that they were telling their teacher that they want a home ec class because they were asking the students what kind of classes they'd like to see in the future. And she said home ec. And I was like, yeah, go Vicky. All right, new look, cute little top pattern. Another cute little wrap top pattern from New Look. You know, I got to say, I really like New Look. They have so many cute patterns, and they have a lot of stuff. They have all those extended sizes. They're like 6 to 20 or, 8 to 22. It's really nice. This is a perfect example of a two-piece dress. See, you're seeing it on the model, the two pieces together. It looks like one dress, but it's not. It's actually the skirt and the top. So that's what I mean when I say two-piece dress. Because they used to be something, I remember seeing them well into the 80s and 90s. So I don't know why they fell out of favor because, yeah, you're getting a dress, but you're also getting, extra pieces, so to speak. Like I said, these are in no particular order. I'm sorry, guys. Coat pattern, I had a whole bunch of these. Some of these patterns I had not just one or two, but like 10. That pattern with the bustled skirt, there were 10 of those. Now there's only 9 because one was cut, but still. This is just a circle skirt pattern. This is a really great beginner pattern too. It even says it's a easy to sew pattern. It's just a really basic circle skirt, but we all made that circle skirt in home ec. Did everybody make a circle skirt in home ec? This is a fat pattern. I know I did. What did we make? We made placemats, an apron, a circle skirt, and then we made a blouse. But the blouse was like the really good advanced students were the ones that made a blouse. That's a nice little wardrobe pattern. Cute jacket pattern. Another really cool suit. Thought about grabbing this one, but no, I like the other jacket better. So, all right. So this haul had a ton of craft patterns. So let's start with this one, which not surprisingly, I looked it up online and it's like probably the most expensive pattern in this entire stack, right? Because it's like historic dolls. I don't know what it is with doll clothes patterns, but they're always like first of all, they sell really well for me. I sold one this week, but they can be incredibly expensive. So I guess it's just people that are really into dolls. Oh, this is the 2003 pattern, and it looks like 2003. Remember 2003? Yeah, we all remember that, right? Just a basic craft pattern. We had this pattern, just like car accessories and bags and, makeup bags and stuff like that. Oh, this pattern, actually, this might be the most expensive pattern. It is a costume pattern. And look, there's what's his face, or I can't remember her name. Anyway, Beauty and the Beast. It's the ball gown pattern from Beauty and the Beast. And this is the one that's the extended sizes. I think this goes up to a 22. Yeah, size 22. So this was the bigger pattern. This absolutely hysterical pattern that I just love, though. It's all your Christmas accessories, but they're cat oriented. And it does have the cat bed also. Oh, you made a book bag? I don't remember making a wrap skirt. I do remember some people have told me they did pillowcases. We did napkins, not pillowcases, but I can see the gist of it, like why you would, do the pillowcase. I remember the pillowcase and the napkin, what they were teaching you was to sew a straight line, right? So then with the apron, what they were teaching you was to create a waist, right? To create a waistline and also when you're doing the loop to continue to sew and hem and all that. We had a Mommy and Me pattern. Yes, I feel like they were gearing us up back in the day to make the skirt by having us make the aprons when we had home ec. I know, look, these are new. These are newer McCall's patterns. They actually have line drawings on the back. This was speaking of beginner patterns, this was another one that was a great line. This Learn to Sew for Fun, but they appear to have discontinued it. I haven't seen anything new added to it. I mean, it's a tough call anyway, right? Because they're all out of business, you know? Yeah, I thought home ec was one of the best classes ever. And the thing about home ec is the home ec that we had was not even as hardcore as the old one. I've seen videos that were made for home ec from like the late 40s, early 50s. And yes, they were sexist. They were geared toward girls, and they were geared towards, being a homemaker. But they had really important stuff that you still need to figure out. Like one of them I watched was how to figure out your percentages of what you should be paying in rent or a mortgage, what you should be paying if you own a car, what you should be paying for food, what you should be trying to save. And it was basing it on different salaries. Now, the salaries were crazy. It was like, I think the $40,000 salary was like, they said something like, and if you have a larger salary, like a $40,000 salary, it was like $40,000, right? But it was, 1940. So yeah, McCall's is on clearance at Hobby Lobby. And that's a tough call because Hobby Lobby is legitimately a store that undercuts everybody else. What I've heard is the big four, they were going away, right? They were in the same boat as Joann's. And then somebody repurchased them and was going to start selling off the additional stock, and that there was some talk of like making a little bit less of the lines. Because you know how like Simplicity now has Nomi? Is that Nomi? Is Nomi Simplicity or McCall's? One of them has Nomi. You know how there's all these other little offshoots, like Simplicity actually, I believe, owns New Look. And then Butterick is See and Sew. And McCall's is Stitch and Save, right? And then you also now have, I think it is McCall's doing Nomi, right? So these are all these little offshoots. I think they're trying to get rid of them and just kind of streamline it all. I don't think they're really going to go away. I think they're just going to be a little bit less available. And the thing about Hobby Lobby is Hobby Lobby will always undercut its competition. So, but I've been hearing bad things about Hobby Lobby. People apparently don't like their fabric selection. People don't like their yarn. I haven't been hearing great things about Michael's. Michael's, apparently the yarn's okay. I love this. I wish this was my size. Apparently the Threads and Loops, I think is the name of it, the Michael's yarn. People say it's okay, but they miss the Joann's Big Twist yarn, which I have a bunch of and I really like it. So that's what I've been doing instead of sewing too. Quick story. Yesterday I had to go to the post office and mail a large package of patterns. Well, I take my dog to the post office and there's a little park right near the post office. So I take him for a walk in it. I don't know what goes on in this park, but boy, does it smell good because his nose is to the ground every time we go there. Anyway, as I'm getting him out of the car, he's getting all excited. I'm trying to get him to calm down. And I stepped backward and hit the curb with my foot and fell over. Wow. Yeah, I mean, as a reseller, I could have gone to Hobby Lobby and bought 50-cent patterns. They would have worked out cheaper than these. These were over $1 a piece, but you're going to be really limited in what you're going to find as a reseller. So anyway, so I stepped backwards and I tripped over the curb. I'm fine. I didn't injure myself or anything. I was mostly embarrassed, but I got up today after falling And I was in so much pain. My back hurt so much. I'm like, oh, because see, I don't know if this happens to the rest of you, but I mean, I'm in my 60s now, but my brain thinks we're 30. And then my body reminds me that we're not all the time. So a couple men's patterns this time around. They don't sell great for me, but once in a while, I get a men's pattern that sells. Had this one before and sold it, so this will probably sell again pretty quickly. Yeah, like that's another one. That was Mimi G. She had her own line with Simplicity. And I don't know if you remember her, but Angela Clayton, she used to have a channel on here that was pretty active. It hasn't been active for a long time, but she had a line with McCall's that was all historic patterns. So I think some of those kind of secondary things may they might go away. Maybe, because I don't think they're ever going to get completely out of the pattern game. They sell well enough. And I speak as a person that sells used ones that I think there's a market there, Yeah, that's the thing is I'm 61, right? But my brain keeps thinking we're 30. And it's like, no, I have to remind my brain we're not 30. Anyway, this came up. I've never heard of this company. I don't know if you can see, or let me not put my hand over it. Oh, I hate this backwards thing. It's whatever that is, artivestry, and it's like haute couture. So I guess it's like maybe it is cosplay, but specifically, I don't know. To me, this looks very Ren Fair, right? I mean, that's a chemise, and those are bloomers. So it's a pattern for chemise and bloomers, right? Okay, so this is the pattern. It's a bustier / corset pattern that goes with this. So I still don't know how this one got cut, but I'm keeping it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but who knows? Maybe I'll need it for a Halloween costume at some point in time. And, oh, is that it? No, that's not it. Hold on. Lots of PJ patterns. So this one, which is good. PJ patterns, the thing about PJ patterns is I won't sell them all year. And then the lead up to Christmas, I'll start selling all the PJ patterns that I have because I think a lot of people do family PJs. I mean, I know that I buy PJs for my family, for the kids to wear with their dad when they open their gifts. Because I know we only have a couple more years before they're not going to do it anymore because it's not going to be cool. So, but every year I buy them PJs. I drop them off on Christmas Eve so they can wear them that night when they go to bed. And then when they wake up in the morning, they can open their gifts wearing their new PJs. And that's, how do I decide what to keep for yourself apart from the size? I will keep patterns if I know the style is something I wear. Like you notice there were 2 wrap dresses in there because I love a wrap dress. And previously, you guys that know me know that I have lots of shirt dresses because I also love shirt dresses. That's how I usually decide. If I change my mind down the line, it's not a big deal. They just end up going on my site. That's all, But so there were a bunch of these. It says tween. There were all these tween patterns from New Look. So I guess New Look had a tween line for a while. I don't know if they still do. These are older. These are 2014, 2015. But cute. I'm not sure why I have such a vested interest in young women learning to sew, or for that matter, young men, other than, you get to wear what you want to wear instead of being at the mercy of retailers and having to wear what they have in stock, and that's what I always say about when I learned to sew and I started to make my own clothes in high school. It wasn't really a thing. Like we were starting to get the whole designer craze was coming in, but I still wanted to make like clothes that reflected me. And it's funny because when I look back, I realized another PJ pattern. When I look back, I realized that most of the stuff I was making was vintage inspired, which I later went on in my 20s to start buying vintage clothing every time I could find it at thrift stores and yard sales and any place that I could find vintage clothing. So that's why I started it. And our very last pattern, look at this super cutie. I know, right? I call this a play suit. I didn't know what else to call it. I think I called it a play suit online. But that was it. So even though there were a lot of patterns, that was all of them because there were so many dupes. And not just dupes. Like this pattern, 10 of these. I don't know who's going to make 10 bustled skirts. Maybe. Who knows? So until next time, which I'm not sure when that's going to be, I might wait to do a little show until I've finished making something so that we can talk about sewing and I can talk more about this machine, having actually used it on a garment. But like I said, she's a beauty. Again, there's my stitches. And for Marie, you said you were late, so let me show this to you. I bought myself a new sewing machine. So here she is again. Magnolia 7330. It's a computerized machine from Janome, and she's lovely. I have been trying out the stitches, and I'm very happy, and I got a real bargain on her. So I was pretty happy. You didn't just see that? Did you not see it before? My Magnolia? Anyway, until next time, like I said, I might try and finish a garment before I see you guys again so that we can actually talk about sewing. I hope wherever you are, the weather's nice. Here it's snowing again. So I'm working on a weather quilt this year, a temperature/weather quilt. So I'm going to go put my line of snow, which is just white yarn, into it. And until next time, I hope wherever you are, that the weather's good and whatever that means to you, because I know some people love this snow. And until then, have a great day off. If you have the day off tomorrow, have a great week, and I will see you next time. And stay well.